Hey guys, Alex here from A1 Photo Fun, and in today's video we're going to be going over one of the most popular topics when it comes to starting out as a photographer. And the topic for today's video is how to get paid as a photographer. So you picked up a DSLR or a mirrorless camera to try out and dive into photography as a hobby. You decide you kind of like it and you want to jump in and maybe, begin to earn some money as a photographer. Let me start off by saying this sort of business isn't something that you'll find instant success in. You won't be earning, hundreds of dollars on a weekly basis just starting out. This sort of process as being an artist generally takes time. Most things like doing photography, being a YouTuber, or, there's a lot of businesses out there where you will not find overnight success. There aren't really that many sort of jobs out there that are available. And that's to be expected. And I'm also going to start by just telling you guys that you're not going to get paid just starting out. You picked up your Nikon camera, your Canon, Panasonic, Olympus, or even a Fujifilm. You want to have a decent camera on you. Spend $500 or more. It doesn't really matter. You get yourself a decent camera. It's going to come with a kit lens, and that's a good place to get started. Just go out, shoot, and have fun. The most important thing about photography is having fun, because if you're not having fun, you're not going to want to do this for work, because you want, your work to be enjoyable. You want to be passionate about this. And as you're shooting photos, try to build a portfolio. Building a good portfolio is the most important aspect for finding work as a photographer. Unless you're working for, a business that, gets jobs and sends photographers out. If you're doing this all freelance on your own to get some money on the side, or if you're trying to do this full time, you're gonna have to have a really good portfolio. Portfolios are important. They show a collection of all of your best and greatest work. Nobody's going to hire you for a job if they don't know what kind of work you're capable of. So, again, this takes time, and building a good portfolio could take up to a year. I started doing photography myself last summer in July or August, as I've mentioned in another video, one of my starting videos for this channel. But I've been doing video work for, I'd say, over 10 years now, and I started getting into photography. It's very fun. I still do video, so I'm kind of the jack of all trades when it comes to photography. I do photo work, I do video work. When it comes to photography, I'm really varied. I've tried a lot of different types of photography: sports photography, fashion photography, event photography, family photography, portraits like that. Again, just portrait photography, landscapes, and the list goes on. There are so many different genres of photography, and you may find that you really like a certain type of photography. And if you do, you can specialize in that. But again, working over the course of a year is really important. Definitely experiment. Because if you're a fashion photographer, you may not be able to find models to take photos of, every week or, 3 times a week, depending on how much you're doing this. I try to do photography every day just for fun. Paid work is great. I would like to have a paid photo shoot every week, but that's not how it happens. I have weeks where I don't have any paid work. I've had weekends where Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I've had different photo shoots. On the Friday I did fashion photography, modeling photo shoots. The next following day, on Saturday, I did sports photography, and on that Sunday right after, I did another photo shoot with a family of 9 people. So that was interesting, and I didn't really have any experience as for doing family photography, but it always works out. When you're doing paid work or just any sort of photo shoots in general, it may have a rocky start, and that's okay. But if you find your footing and get used to what you're doing, it just always works out. And in most photo shoots you're going to find you have like that one stellar photo that really just is a step above the rest of the photos. And that's the kind of photo you want to put in your portfolio. The best photo from every photo shoot you do. Now, finding, work and finding photo shoots to do may not come easy, but there are a lot of ways you can, get into it and network with people. So first things first, try to photograph with your friends. If your friends are cool with it, being on camera, if you're doing video or photos, if they're okay with it, definitely shoot with your friends. And that's a good way to start. They're people you're comfortable with them, you can take photos of them and see how you do. If the photos go well, maybe they'll post them up on Facebook, Instagram, or some other app that uses photos. And that's one way to find people. If one person's like, wow, I really like your photo, who did the work for you, that's one way to find potential clientele. And that's the main thing. When you're starting out, you expect to do a lot of free photography work for people. Networking is very important. Establish a name for yourself. Whether you're using your last name, like Smith Photography, your full name, if you come up with something, a little more catchy or original, that's, I think, a good way to go personally. So you establish your name. Once you do that, probably make it the name of your Instagram page. You're going to have an Instagram. Facebook is a good way to do it, to have that as well. And then later you will want to have a website, but that's quite the investment. Networking with people can be hit or miss with your Instagram. I don't know where you're currently sitting at or most of your social media, but try to network with people that have pretty well established Instagrams. If you know people that do modeling, professionally or semi-professionally, definitely try to work with them. I've done networking with a lot of people, and I'll tell you straight out that, not every experience was terribly good. Like, the photo shoots were great for several people. I've done, like, one scenario, I did a group photo shoot with some people, and one person was in this modeling agency that I previously did some work for. She needed some new photos. She wanted to get herself back out there. And the deal we had was, hey, I'll charge you a really small amount. And I did 6 hours of work for, all the people that went combined. Right after the photo shoot, I worked till past 12 a.m. doing this photographic work. And the photos came out great. But the person I worked with, she didn't really keep her end of the deal. The deal was pretty easy. I'd give you a really low price. I'll do my best work. And when you're doing photography, always do your best. If you're not too into the photo shoot or whatever the case may be, I've had some kind of odd jobs with photography. Just always do your best work. Because the better you do, the more business you're going to find in general. So I did my work for these people. Everyone posted the photos online. When you're getting your photos posted online, it's good to have a watermark and definitely get tagged in your work. It's unfair to you to put in all that time and effort if people aren't even going to know who you are. So if you're not, getting your photo credits in the post, in some cases you can sue people over things like that. I know some professional photographers who have had their work stolen. He had his work watermarked and someone posted it without his permission. And those sorts of cases, if you're really well established, you can do things like that. It's unfair to you and nobody should be stealing your work. But the main gist I'm trying to get across is just be careful. Don't expect every experience to be perfect or stellar. She didn't really, again, keep up with her end of the deal. She was supposed to get me other clients from that modeling agency to come work with me for actual decently paid photo shoots. I wanted to do another group photo shoot with a lot of models, and I wouldn't charge them a lot, but, if I'm charging each person that sort of low set amount, if you have 5 or 6 people, I'm sure then you're getting paid, over $100. So you've been building your portfolio for about a year, over a year. You have definitely over 10 different varied photo shoots, different style of photo shoots, or if you have 20 different types of photo shoots, you're taking the best photos from each photo shoot and you're posting them on your Instagram page and things like that. You may want to definitely consider getting yourself a website. Websites aren't exactly cheap. There's Wix, there's Squarespace, there's other different vendors that you can use to get your website established and built upon. It is an investment. You're investing in yourself. And that's the main key here. You're trying to earn some money and, possibly make a living doing photography. So if you're putting together your website, make sure you have your name, all your social media there. Websites do take several hours to, design. Even if you're doing a designing website that has presets, definitely invest a lot of time into that. Keep your best work on your website. Also, make sure you keep your website updated often. And once again, you have your website established, your social media established, it may be a good idea to have business cards. Keep your number there, your email there, your website, your Instagram, so people can see your work and be able to easily contact you. You'll probably want to design a logo. Make sure your name is visible. Have your logo there. If you want a double-sided card, that'll probably cost you more. I have myself a business card. I try to make a fun, creative design for A1 Photo Fun, because that's the most important thing with my type of work. I like to have fun when I'm doing my photo shoots, and I want my clients or my friends or whoever I'm working with to have fun doing photography. Well, and since you're being a photographer, you're in control. People are paying you for your vision. So when you're taking photos of models, people, families, whatever the case may be, everything except for children, you need to direct your subject. You can't really direct the child, but if you're taking photos of a model or somebody who's new to modeling, I've done a photo shoot like that recently. A very pretty girl wanted to, become like an Instagram model, because, Instagram models make a lot of money getting sponsorships and things like that. But, she takes good like selfies and whatnot, but she wanted some professional photos done. So we did the shoot. Just make sure you're comfortable telling people what to do. You don't just want your I've worked with some people who know what to do, but in most cases, unless you know a lot of models, you won't be working with people who can just strike their poses or just compose themselves in whatever fashion. You just need to know what to do. Be comfortable. Don't just try to be gentle about it, I guess, but I'm sure you'll figure that out on your own. So I've been giving you all these tips, and I'm sure the most important thing to you people, or most people watching, is how much, should you be charging. A really good thing to do is to utilize websites like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. Craigslist is a good way to go. If you have that, if you're watching from another country, I don't know if like every country or location or whatever uses something like a Craigslist, but there's a lot of websites that you pay a set amount, like $5, $10. You put your ad on there. Make sure you put your best work on there. Describe what kind of photography you do, what equipment you have, what experience you have. It's like putting up your own resume, and people will contact you via email or phone, and that way, then you can set up shoots and begin to, earn some money. So see what other people are doing. Just from the get-go, don't be charging people over $100 unless you're doing like a, 3 or 4 hour event, like a party or birthday party or concert or something like that. But generally, you'll want to, maybe start around $50, maybe a little less, but I generally wouldn't jump a little more over that. Just as always, when you're meeting with clientele, be as professional as possible. When you're meeting with your clientele, you'll want to, present yourself well, dress well, and keep your portfolio on you. That's one really important aspect that some people just don't do. Having a good portfolio on you is key and will impress your clientele. A good way to do it is to have yourself an electronic tablet, like an iPad or an Android equivalent, to keep your best photos or all of your photos of various photo shoots all saved on here. And then you can show your clientele what kind of work you've been doing, and if they can see either through your website, like your Craigslist, your Facebook page, or your Instagram, they can see what kind of work you're capable of, and you guys can take it from there. Now, if you really want to impress your clientele, one of the best ways to do it is to have a physical portfolio on hand. This is another investment like having a website. This isn't very cheap to do, but you want to get your best photo from every photo shoot and get them printed out in high resolution, and keep them in a portfolio binder like this. I have a lot of varied work in here. Some of this is digital prints from my Panasonic Lumix G7, and then some of this is even film photography, because I do that somewhat on the side as well. So just keep your work there. I have about, I'd say, like 15 photos, and I don't get to update this as often, but when I do have some spare money, I'd like to invest in this. The last tip I'm going to leave you guys is just being safe. If you find yourself having a photo shoot that is in maybe a different town or whatever. I've done a photo shoot or a few photo shoots that were an hour away. I live in the state of Pennsylvania within the United States, and I think, one of the best ways to do it, just being safe, is being able to protect yourself. Definitely keep a phone on you. If you want to take it a step up from there, maybe have something like mace or a taser. You don't know what kind of situations you could run into being a photographer. I've met a lot of people, and I generally feel safe working with strangers, but you never know. Anything can and possibly will happen. So if you want to have something like pepper spray, a taser, definitely keep your phone on hand if you need to contact local authorities. Or if you're in a state and you're comfortable enough, a good way to keep yourself protected is having a concealed carry firearm. This here is a CZ-P10C. This is probably the pistol I carry the most on me. And I'm not telling everyone watching this video, go out and buy a firearm. You need to protect yourself. But just think about it. Whether you're a male or female, you do have a lot of expensive equipment on there, on hand, and you want to keep yourself safe as well. So I've been in areas that aren't generally too safe, or even if you're in a good area, anything can happen. So if that's one way you want to keep yourself safe, I think it's one of the best ways to do it. Just definitely always have good training and know the proper laws, and just it's something to really consider. But it is another topic for another video. But again, I like to be as safe as possible. If you find yourself in any kind of bad situation, first and most importantly is just try to get out of the situation. But if the situation comes to you and your life may possibly be in danger, having something like a concealable firearm is again probably the best way to save yourself at that time. So again, just a possible thing to consider. If anything, there's mace and a taser. They're not as effective, or calling local authorities may take time, and in certain situations you may not have a lot of time to keep yourself protected and safe. So it's just something I do. Depending on the event, I'll dress for the event and try to either carry this firearm or one or two other firearms that conceal easier, and I just like to keep myself as safe as possible. So, other than that, moving off of that sort of topic, during the first year of getting your portfolio together, the first 6 months, you'll be able to realize if photography is really for you. And that's the most important thing. That's why I recommend building your portfolio. As you're taking photos, I'm sure everybody loves shooting the photos. That is honestly the most fun part of photography, getting your vision, getting the shots you imagine on screen or on film. And once you have those photos, in most cases, most photographers have to do, work afterwards. So you will have to learn how to use programs like Adobe Lightroom or Adobe Photoshop, or both. There are other programs out there as well. If you don't have the money starting off, there's like Raw Therapy and a bunch of other photo editing software. But it's definitely important to learn how to use photo editing software. I've worked with clients before that have sickle cell, and this one guy I worked with, he had this condition, and if he wasn't hydrated, his eyes would have like a yellow tint to them. So that was something I had to fix up in post. Or I've worked with other clients that maybe had, some slight acne on them, or any other sort of condition, or maybe there was a sign in the way in the photo. It's important to know how to edit those things out or fix them, or just do your best to make the colors look as vibrant as possible, not to oversaturate it. Maybe you have to adjust the lighting, or it could be a number of factors, but knowing how to utilize editing software is so very key in this business. And if that's something you don't enjoy doing, you may have to sit there for 2 to 4 hours, or maybe even longer, editing photos. And if, again, you don't like editing photos, photography may not be for you. So that's why I think building a portfolio is so important. You'll have to take the time and put in the effort to really be able to figure out if you enjoy doing this kind of work, because it's not for everyone. Same thing with video editing. I know people who hate editing videos but love to shoot videos, and pretty much with any sort of hobby. There's maybe, one aspect of it you like, and there may be other sub-aspects in there that you don't really enjoy. But I really love editing photos. I don't really consider it work, so I don't mind sitting there for possibly hours at a time, or 1 to 2 days out of the week, getting on the computer and editing and touching up photos. It's fun to me and I enjoy doing it. So I hope this overall guide for starting out as a photographer was helpful. It's a lengthy process, just like most things in life. Getting jobs in general is a lengthy process. You need experience, and if you don't have that portfolio, again, nobody's going to hire you with no experience. You could have a $2,000 camera body, but if you don't know the ins and outs of it, from gaining experience and doing free photo shoots, or just going out there and shooting photos or editing it afterwards, don't expect to be making a lot of money, and don't expect to be making a lot of money from the start. But if you get yourself well established in your area, or you possibly become Instagram famous or something like that, then when you get that sort of popularity and people want your work, you can up those prices past $100. I know one of the people I've interned for, a professional photographer, he would charge, $300 to $500 for the photo shoot alone. And then when it comes to doing things like post-processing, he considers that a whole different fee. He'll shoot your photos for that, $300 to $500 rate. But if you want, touched up photos or photoshopped updated colors or whatever, he's going to tack on an extra $200 for that. So imagine that. You could possibly be making $700 or more for potential photo shoots. But every hobby, every business, every job has its beginning roots, and you got to start off doing this sort of thing for free. And you got to really begin to learn every aspect of photography, or maybe you will, specialize in something like fashion photography, but don't always expect to be having work available unless people are constantly in your emails or in your messages or calling you for work. Not everybody has it like that. So if you're not finding fashion photography work, be able to be versatile and be able to do things like weddings, family photo shoots, sports photography. Those sorts of things are important. Also, don't expect to be a professional photographer or even semi-professional photographer with just having like the kit lens. It's important to have different lenses for different types of photo shoots. I always use my portrait lens for, fashion photography, modeling. It could be good for events, but if you're doing sports photography, you may need a pretty good zoom lens, and you gotta have equipment available. If you're doing party photography, you're probably going to need a flash box, or there's so much different type of equipment needed for different types of jobs. So get started, have fun shooting photos, figure out if it's for you or if you just want to do it as a hobby. But if you're really interested in becoming a photographer, I hope these tips were helpful and give you a better perspective of what's potentially out there to come. So, if you found this guide or video helpful, give this video a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel and enjoyed this video and want to see more content from this channel, hit the subscribe button below. Also be sure to hit the bell icon to be notified when new videos are available on A1 Photo Fun. If you'd like to see more of my photographic work, be sure to look at my Instagram page, which is at AL7Official. Also, be sure to check out my website linked below. It's www.a1photofun.com. As always, keep shooting, have fun, and be safe. This is Alex from A1 Photo Fun, and I'll catch you guys next time.